In this lesson, we are going to be creating a fake bathroom scene. Kind of similar to our kitchen scene, we know that not everyone has beautiful bathrooms or they don't have access to ones that are nice enough to shoot in. So creating fake scenes is a really good way around of achieving a fake bathroom look. You'd use a scene like this if you're working with a brand that perhaps is in cosmetics, or they've got a shower-based product, or it's soap, or it's shampoo, conditioner, hair care. This is a really good scene to communicate that that is that type of product. And then in terms of color schemes, you would choose that based on the brand themselves and the color of the product and what color scheme they need to go for. So we've spoken about how to create these fake tile backgrounds in a fake tile module. So we teach you exactly how to build them. So please skip to that if you want to know how we achieve this. Another type of background that you could use is a fake printed one that works out really well. But for today, I am using real ones. And there is a couple reasons why I am doing that as well. The first reason being is that I plan on hanging this shower caddy to create a fake shower scene. And I'm going to hang it from there, and I needed a little bit of weight, and also I needed something to hang it from. And secondly, I really like how real tiles come out on camera. I wanted this to look more realistic. Doing a fake one could be really fun if you had a really colorful, fun product, but today I'm going to just shoot on the real one. So we're going to pop the tiled board on the table. And then I've also popped this MDF board in front just to help stabilize it a little bit as well. And we've got this tiled background pretty much flat on the wall because we don't want to have like a warped tiled look. We want to keep things really straight, horizontal and vertical. So from there, we're also going to get a C-stand, and this C-stand has a 10-kilo sandbag on it just to stabilize it even more. And all I'm going to do is pull out the boom arm and then keep pushing it out until I get to the board, and then I'm going to tighten that arm, and then that should help stabilize it and it's not going to fall forward. And because you have that weight on the C-stand, it's not moving anywhere. So I'm going to do a couple of scenes because I feel like there's a few ways that you could execute some bathroom styled stuff. So obviously this is the first one. I'm going to create a fake shower. The other one is you could create a fake bathroom bench and basin kind of scene, but we'll start off with this one and then we'll work our way through the other ideas that I've got too. So first things first, I've got this little shower caddy that we just purchased from a homeware store. This was actually from a place called Pillow Talk, but I'm sure you could order one online, Amazon, Temu, Shein, homeware stores. You'd be able to get this so easily. And then I've also got this little hook that has one hook over here and another hook on the other end. This is going to hook itself onto there, and then I'm going to hook on my shower caddy. Now the thing is, I have to be really careful once I start adding weight to this. So I've only got this stabilized with one C-stand, and I'm just going to play it by ear on how much this can handle before it starts to tip over. You have to remember, once you start mounting things to these tile boards, they're already top heavy. So if you start adding more, the chances of it flipping over is kind of high. So you just have to be really careful. I may even grab another C-stand and mount it and stabilize it with another sandbag too. So we'll just see how we go, because I still have a lot of product to add into this as well, and I definitely don't want things coming tumbling down. So all I'm going to do is place this in my scene and just hook it over top. And already I feel like it's starting to look like a real shower. Now you could do a few fun things with this as well. You could get a real shower head and use it in a fake scene and have it over there. You could even like get a watering can and like put water over top of the scene. You can really have fun with it. So I'm going to start styling first, and then after that I'll get into the lighting. I think I'm going to keep things really simple today and maybe only use one or two lights. I might try just a one light first. I just want to keep things really simple. Probably go with the bare bulb as well, but yeah, we'll get into that once we've got the scene all set up. As usual, I am tethering today. I'm using Capture One. Make sure you go to the Capture One lesson if you haven't yet watched it. You're going to save so much time if you tether and you can see what's on your screen rather than walking back and forth constantly. Now, because the tile is very heavy, it just makes me a little bit nervous. So I want to stabilize this even more. So I've got another sandbag here, and I'm just going to place this almost in an L shape. So some of the weight is on the base and some of it is on the tile. And that's feeling way more secure too. So definitely give that a go. Okay, so for my lens today, I'm using 100mm. No particular reason. I just really like shooting with it. It's one of my go-to lenses. You obviously could use whatever lens that you have available. So now I'll get the product out that I'm going to shoot with. Okay, so I have a tub of products here. I'm going with these products from a brand called All Kinds. If you haven't seen these, they're really fun. They're an Australian brand, and it's just a shower related product. They sell kids body washes and stuff like that. So that is another reason why I went with this green colored one, because I wanted to keep it relatively neutral but still a fun color that would align and work well with these specific products. So there is no right or wrong way that I'm going to do this. I am going to try and distribute the weight of the products, but you could literally style based on how you like things to look. I encourage you to experiment. Obviously, you can follow the rule of thirds, you can follow composition rules, but I honestly think you should just get creative. Some of these will need to be cleaned up a little bit because I've made them a little bit dirty over the years, but that's all right. And obviously I want to have things that make sense to be in the shower as well. I don't want to contradict. So for example, I probably wouldn't put an egg carton in the shower, but I would, however, put these soaps in the shower. We probably don't need 2 sponges. Maybe this guy can come down here. And also I'm being really careful as well because again, we're shooting on this tile background and I don't want it to come flying over. So once you get your product in place, you could start introducing some more bathroom related props. So for example, if I didn't have this, you might want to use some sort of sponge. I did purchase some other shower products and props before. I'll show you what they look like. So for example, I've got a couple of towels. I've got these little face sponges. I've got another loofah, but also I'm very mindful with the color scheme as well. Like I don't want anything that's going to kind of be too distracting in comparison to the color of these. Which I don't think it would because these are all beige colors. This is very neutral. If I went and added in something like that, mm, or even this red one, it's definitely throwing another color in the mix. Whereas this is very beige. You've got some yellow tones. So you might want to work with that. Maybe these purple ones. Even a bar of soap could work really well there. Or we could even hang these little pads on it, or maybe this instead. Obviously, if you're working with a brand that sells soap related products and that's their main inventory, you might want to not use outside props like this. For example, if they sell sponges, you'd want to use their sponge and not something else that you buy, because that's one thing that could confuse their customers. Their customers might think that they could buy this actual sponge. So those are the questions that you need to be asking them before you start adding things in as well, because obviously it's a lot easier to ask the questions beforehand and compared to revising it later on. Now my products are a little bit grubby, so now that I know that I'm definitely going to be using these ones, I'm just going to give them a little bit of a clean before I start taking photos and start lighting. It's much easier to have your products relatively clean in the scene before you start shooting rather than trying to edit them all in post-production. Obviously you still will do some editing, but the more you get right in camera, the better. Okay, I quite like that. I definitely think we need some more props though. Okay, so I've just added in a little purple comb just to tie in with these little purple pads. I started looking in our bathroom area and I was like, oh, eraser could be cool. But the one thing I thought about was this is a kid product. So when you're working with products that are related to children or certain age demographics, you have to be very mindful of what you're trying to communicate with that as well. So for example, in a kid's shower, if you did have a kid's shower, you probably wouldn't have a razor. That's not the right age demographic. But if this was more of a adult related product, then perhaps you would have props like that. Other things that you might find in like a kid's shower is some toys or some like little stickers on the wall. So you could definitely include things like that. But again, yeah, if you're doing more of an adult product, you could keep things relatively simple. You could have like another little comb, a head scrubber, face washes, sponges, just anything that you'd really find in a shower. Maybe even one of those like loofah scrubs or an exfoliating mitt. Just have to get creative and think about what am I trying to communicate with this photo. So I'm quite happy with how things are looking there. The other thing that I am going to possibly add is this towel, and I might hang it off to the side so it looks like it could be hanging by a hook, but it just adds another little element of like, hey, this is a shower. Now, if I'm being honest, Like this color definitely does work with this scene. It's still relatively neutral. However, just to tie in those purple elements, I think I would want to change this to a purple color, which is a really easy thing to do in post-production. You can do it in Lightroom using the brush tool, or you can do it in Photoshop. And I show how to do things like that in those editing lessons as well. So if you're curious, skip to those. See, I think this might be a little bit heavy for that side. And when I say heavy, I mean I've got a lot of big bulky items on this side. So I'm just going to try the opposite one. Just scoot it in there. See, I think that's a lot more flattering. It definitely balances out the shot a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just grab another one of those hooks. So I've just got another one of these little hooks. Luckily for me, my towel has a little hook already on it. If you didn't have something like that, honestly, some blue tack and some gaff tape does do the trick. It will work. So I'm just going to pretty much copy what I did there with the shower caddy and hook it into scene. I don't want this towel to take up too much space. Like I just want it to be peeking in from the side. And if you find that that's not high enough, as in maybe your towel's too low, you could always just remove some of that length there by tying it over and over. Or you could hang this on a C-stand. So you could get another C-stand with a boom arm and have it come this way and just hang it onto that. But I think this is going to do the trick for now. The other thing with having too many C-stands in place is that it could obstruct your lighting depending on what lighting you're going for. But I think that looks really cool. Another thing that I would do for a bathroom like this is if I had some talent on set, like a child, I could get them to come in and grab something out of the actual shower caddy. I feel like that would again balance out the other side, but this is looking really good. So I think from here, we'll stop with the styling and we will start lighting. And then once we get the lighting in place, we'll start styling again. You'll see that I do this a lot in all of our lessons, is that I like to get like a bit of a mock-up going, like a base set going, and then I'll switch to lighting because I want to see how the lighting is reacting with the props and with the product. And then I'll go back to styling once that's in place. Okay, so I have my strobe here. I'm just going to turn that on. Now, this tile background is glossy. It has a shine to it. So the one thing I know that I'm already going to try and tackle is the fact that I don't want it to look glossy and I don't want it to have glares on it. So I'm just going to start putting my light in place where I think the shadow is going to look nice, and then we'll deal with the glare if it pops up. I also don't know how these products are going to react. They very much could glare as well, but we'll soon find out once we actually take a shot. So this is also going to be my key light, and I have a bare bulb on it. The bare bulb's going to give me a really bright scene, and it's going to give me a really harsh shadow. The reason I have pulled it all the way over here is because I want shorter shadows. I don't want anything too long, but then again, I could very much change that. I might go, oh, let's make this look like it's coming through a window, and therefore the shadows could potentially be a lot longer. For now, I want something a little bit more short, a little bit more crisp, and nothing too distracting. So I think about there will be good, but your lights aren't stuck in the mud, so you definitely can move them around. Now, my settings were already on my camera from the shoot previously, but I'm currently at f10 for my aperture, and my light is on 1/2, and that's just one light for now. I don't have a fill light yet. I do have one ready to go, but I'm not using it just yet. So that is group A, and we've got these two lights on the same channel, but this one is not turned on yet. Okay, as I suspected, very glary. So this front on harsh light might not work. I need to play around with it. So the first thing that I could try do is lift my strobe up and try come more down, and the direction will be more going this way. So the highlight wouldn't hit here, so we wouldn't get the glare here, we'd get the glare more hitting these little areas, and they're more easier to blend out in Photoshop as well. Whereas if the glare is hitting the front of the logo, it's going to be a lot harder. Okay, so I'm just going to move my light forward. Just be careful of your stands. Don't do what I just did. And I'm going to go a little bit higher with it. You could also put your modeling lamp on if you want to see where the direction of your shadows are going in real time. Now, the higher I go, as you can see, my shadows now fall a little bit longer, which, to be fair, is okay. You have to think about, okay, what does an actual bathroom look like? More times than not, you have an overhead light. And I despise overhead light. Like if you are in a natural bathroom, I would not like to shoot with that. Naturally, that's what actually would happen. So having my light up a little bit higher and over still does play into that realism of the photo. Okay, I actually need to turn down the power of my strobe, and also I'm going to increase my aperture just because I want to make sure everything's in focus. So I'm actually going to turn the output up again for my strobe. Okay, so I'm just making sure that my camera is straight on in comparison to those tiles. Obviously I can straighten it a little bit in Photoshop, but it's better to get it right on camera. As I mentioned before, I've moved my strobe a little closer and further up, which obviously has helped heaps with the glare on the products, which was the main concern before. The only thing is that these shadows are incredibly harsh. They're a bit too dramatic. They're a little bit too moody for the style that I'm going for. So I am going to introduce a fill light, and I'm using diffuser paper. I love using diffuser paper to keep things really soft. So this light here, which is another strobe, it is going to be on group B on the exact same channel. And I'm just going to take this gel off. This was just on it previously from another shoot. So I'm going to take that gel off, and I'll position it relatively high because the main focus of my scene is up high. So I'm just making sure that it's somewhat in line so it can filter over here. So when bringing in your fill light, the easiest way to do this is to put it on the lowest output. So the lowest output on my strobe is 1/128. And if I take a shot, you'll probably not even notice a difference at all. It is very, very low. Yeah, so not much going on there. So I'm going to slowly increase it. The reason why I like to put it on the lowest output is that way I can just increase it in small increments. If I go in trying to match this one, it's just going to overexpose and there's no point anyway. So start from the bottom. Cool. So bringing in that fill light has definitely helped with those really dark shadows. It's still probably a tiny little bit too harsh for me. So I'm just going to keep playing around with the position. Now that I've got my light up pretty high, I just want to see if I can get away with making those shadows a little shorter. And again, I run into the problem of those products being a little bit glary. So there's a couple ways I could tackle this. I could just compromise and have longer shadows and have it in the position where I'm not going to get any glare on my products. So the second way is I could composite this photo, which means that I'm going to take a photo of my products that are well exposed for the actual labels, and then I would take another photo which exposes my scene and bring it all together in Photoshop. Or I could change up the style of my lighting. So I could go with something a little bit more softer. So if I were to put another sheet of diffuser paper here, I think that's going to help a lot. But again, doing that's going to change the style of the photo. It's not going to be these harsh, bold, crisp shadows. It'll be more feathered and soft, which again could be really nice. For a brand like this, I feel like their branding is very bold and colorful and bright, and they've got those harsh, poppy colors and shadows. So I'd want to kind of align my photo to suit that. But again, you could do it based on whatever the brand you're working with is. I think I might even just show you guys what that's going to look like if I do soften those shadows. I'm just going to get another piece of diffuser paper on a C-SIN. I just want to show you the difference. Now this isn't a lighting lesson, this is a styling lesson, but I really want you guys to get in the habit of starting to try and push the boundaries with your lighting and learn how to use it properly, because I feel like it makes the biggest difference on the final result. So here's a piece of diffuser paper. I just wanted to show you the difference between the harsh and the soft. And as you can see, totally different vibe. I think I just need to increase the output of my strobe, make it a little bit brighter. To be fair, I don't mind it. I don't mind how that looks. It's still a little bit glary. So we definitely need to do more of like a side light for these products, unless I am going to composite the photo. Actually, really don't mind the soft light. I just don't think it aligns with this specific brand. But again, this is for the course, so I could really do whatever I think looks the best. And I think the harsh shadows look the best. I love that style. It's definitely one of the styles that we do a lot around FJC, and it is highly requested amongst our clients. They love the harsh shadows, the bare bulb look. I'm just gonna come back to square one and come overhead a little bit and just have the longer shadows. So this is where sometimes the easy route isn't always the best route. So I could have very much just left the diffuser paper in scene because it was a lot easier. The photo looked great. However, I'm still determined to make the harsh shadows work. So I'm definitely going to keep playing around with my lighting until we get it just how I like it. Also, I've kind of made it a little bit harder for myself. I've got a holographic packaging here, which is very, very glary just naturally. So I've also got to consider that for my lighting too. This is also why I suggest that you communicate that whilst the scene might be really easy in terms of the styling, the longest part of your photo could be the lighting. Every product is different. How it reacts to light is different. Every scene's different. Okay, I'm just going to put a little color grade on our photo. We also just need to increase the output of that fill light. So I'm just going to maneuver my fill light a little bit further around. Just going to see what that looks like. And I'm just going based on what I visually see as well. Yeah, that's helped a little bit. I think I'll just keep playing around with this. So I'm going to give my photo a little color grade quickly just to see what the final result could look like. So I always increase my shadows, I decrease the highlights, I'm going to increase that brightness. I'm also just going to add a tiny little bit more blue. It's just looking a little bit too warm. And it's giving a bit of a green color cast, obviously because we're using a green tile as well. I do think I'm going to have to intensify the actual green in Photoshop, but we'll discuss that later. I'm going to increase my whites, I'm going to decrease the blacks, and then I'm going to go down to the dehaze. Oh, and it looks like I had an edit on that already, so I'm just going to revert that and start again. And then I'm going to increase the saturation. And as I do that, you're going to see those yellows get a little bit too intense. So I'm just going to put some blue back into it. I also think the blues are looking a little bit too crazy from that saturation that I just did. So I'm just going to go down to the color editor and fix those. And that purple's looking a little bit too wild as well, just to lighten that up. And then I'm going to go back to the brightness. So if we have a look at the before and after. Before, after. And keep in mind, this is not retouched, it's just a little color grade. And this is just a little color grade so I can have a look at what things are going to look like as I'm shooting. Might just increase that exposure a little bit too. I'm not quite happy with how this area down here is looking, so I'm still going to play around a little bit more with that fill light. I might even take this modifier off and just let the light spread a little bit more. Now, because I've taken the modifier off, the reflector, it is going to decrease the output because the reflector, it increases the output based on this little silver effect inside of it. If you want to know more about that, please go to the modifier lessons. So I'm just going to take a shot, and as I suspected, it's a little bit too dark, so I'm just going to increase the output. Now I can see a double shadow going on because the outputs are relatively similar. So I'm just going to increase the one on group A just so it stays my key light and this is always the fill. And I think that looks much nicer. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. I do think it's missing something. So when I think of bathroom, I think of suds, I think of water, I think of bubbles. I think that the shower should look wet, the product should look wet. So we could play around with a few things here. We could either incorporate the bubbles or we could even just add some condensation to the product just to get going. And I think the safe thing would be to do that first. So let's add some condensation to it. Now that we've got the lighting in place, let me just go through what the lighting setup is quickly, and I'll also put the settings in the caption below as well. So on my key light here, this one is group A. They're both on the exact same channel and I am using my strobes today. So I've got that on 1/4. So that is my key light and it is a bare bulb. It's creating a harsh shadow. And then on the left hand side, I've got my fill light. That's on group B. And the setting for that one is 1/8 plus 0.7 because I want my key light to be the one that creates the direction of shadow. Always want to make sure that that one is the highest output and this one is just filling in. We don't want it to change the direction of the shadows. So that is the lighting setup, pretty easy. So two light setup. If you had only one light, you definitely could still achieve something very similar. Just use a bounce card to fill in the shadow. Obviously, you're gonna have a little bit more control if you do have the second one. So from there, let's make this shower scene look a little bit more wet, because when you think of a shower, it is wet. Before I do that, I just want to quickly clean up some of the products. They're looking a little bit grubby. Things have just spilt, so I'm just going to tidy that up. So I don't ruin my scene completely, I'm just going to do this one by one and then pop them back as I go. So these products, we've had them for ages, so they've just had some little spills. Just want to tidy that up just to help with the post-production process. I'm trying to be very careful so we don't move anything around too crazy. And this is just a damp cloth with some water on it, and then you can dry it off again with a tea towel. Another thing that I could do, given that some of this is like fun kind of product, we could use this whip soap and actually put like a whip dollop on the corner there. This is a really fun product. It's maple shower syrup, so maybe we could even pour some of it out. Depending on how creative you want to get, you can actually include some texture shots. A lot of brands love using texture shots so they can show their customers what their product actually looks like. As you can see, I'm just doing one by one and I'm not changing the scene at all because I'm putting it back in place. You obviously could have done this at the beginning as well, but I didn't. I'm just going to double check that I've got them all in the right position. All right, everything's looking pretty good. Just need to adjust this one a little bit. From here, I've got just a spray bottle with some plain water in it. I've also got a little bottle here, mix this with some glycerin and water. I have a video in the styling section about how to make this. So you could use this on beverage photography. You could use this in this kind of scene, like a bathroom scene. I am going to avoid using this right now because glycerin has a little bit of a greasy finish to it. I don't want to make my products greasy, and I don't mind how the water's going to look. I'm okay with the water dripping down, whereas the glycerin will have the little water droplets stay in place. So from here, I'm just going to start spraying the products and just make them look a little bit wet. I'm not going to go too crazy just yet because I might not actually like how this looks. But I do like how it looks, so that's good. So from here, I might even start adding some water to the background. Now I've been taking shots as I go as well. So if need be, like if I didn't like how the water looked on the background, I've got one that doesn't have anything on it. So that's why I recommend take photos as you go, because then you can bring it all together in Photoshop. I don't mind how it looks. I don't love how it looks, but I don't mind it. The one thing I did see is that this drop here is looking a little crazy. So that's when the glycerin would have come in handy, because water will definitely slide around and have big drops, whereas this is going to stay in place. Start that again, it was just a little bit too wet. So I'm just going to spray this product with glycerin just a little bit, just to get those droplets to stay in place a little bit more. Just going to fix the position of that. Just always make sure that your products are front on as well. I actually don't like how the water looks on some of these products. Like for example, this one here, I feel like it makes it look a little bit messy. So I'm just going to dry it off. Cool. All right. So from here, I'll just get the shot of that product. I'm going to include some bubbles because why not? It's a bathroom scene. So I'm actually just going to add some suds to my scene. I've got like a little jug here of boiling hot water and a little bit of soap, and I've got a little electric mixer. And all I'm doing is mixing it all up, and I'm going to create heaps of suds. This is a really easy way to create like, foamy soap, because it foams up really big. Can you see how big that's getting? Put my live mode back on just so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm literally just going to start popping these suds on where I think would look good. So for example, on the edges of the shower caddy, maybe a little bit on the wall, maybe like a big smear on the wall, maybe another one up there, some more on the side. We could put some on the product, some more on the caddy at the front. Just going to take a shot of that before it kind of disappears and slides all over the place. I'm going to keep adding some more. Maybe let go all around that little area. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do stuff like this. Like literally just have fun, get playful. Some more on that product. I'd even just add more to the wall just to make it really wet. I think that looks fun. The next thing I'm going to do is add some bubbles. So I'm going to get Huzi to come take some photos for me, and I've got a bubble machine here. I've already put the detergent in it. We just got this from Spotlight. It was $8. Spotlight is a craft store here in Australia, but you could order these from Temu, Amazon, craft stores, discount stores, toy stores, anywhere that sells bubble machine. So Huzi's just going to keep taking a whole bunch of photos as I'm giving it bubbles. I might even go a little higher and let them fall, and then even like some touching it. Okay, now I'm going to swap with Huzi because I want to see what shots we're getting. This is where you kind of have to work a little bit faster because obviously the suds are going to start to dissolve. I've just given my scene a little spray with water as well. Also, this is a good thing about using a little bit of hot water in the detergent is that I can just keep mixing it up and getting more. I'm going to add a big bit there. Big bit. All right. Huzi's going to be the bubble boy. All right, off we go. Can you go further in the scene, please? And don't point it up as much, just point it straight over. So as you can see, I'm just taking a lot of photos just to see what we can capture. All right, let's have a look at what we have captured. We have heaps of options there. Just gonna do some more bubbles. Come a little bit further in scene, Huzi. All right, surely we've got something there. I definitely think we've got a shot in there. Cool. And because I can't help myself, I'm going to give adding some water to this scene a go. So I'm going to grab my trusty water can. And what I'm going to do is have Huzi get on a ladder and start pouring from above so that way we get a shower head effect. Now, I don't want the water going on my MDF board, so I'm going to place down an acrylic tub so it can catch the water below. If you don't have an acrylic tub, you could also get a little pool from like Kmart. They're like $10, or Big W, or a toy store, just something really inexpensive. You could also put down some towels or maybe some tarp from a like Bunnings or a hardware store. So let's get that set up and then we'll try again with the watering can. And obviously you could stop there with the bubbles. You could really stop there with the suds, or you don't need any of it at all. You could keep it really simple. I'm a little bit extra sometimes and I like to experiment, so I have options to play with when it comes to post-production. Okay, so next Huzi is going to jump up on this ladder and he is going to provide me with a shower-like effect using this watering can. We just got this from Bunnings. It was super cheap, nothing special about it. Obviously, a shot like this now would be very helpful if you had someone helping you rather than on your own, but again, you could always put it on a timer. I'm also going to get him to, yeah, go around there, just so that way it actually trickles out like it would be a a shower head too. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. A little bit higher. Higher. And completely over more. More over so it comes out a little bit better. Over more, please. Up higher. Higher. Stop there. So he's going to try again. And this time I've kind of directed him to go high enough so that way it can trickle out like that and not be just directly on the product. And you need to go all the way over, otherwise the water doesn't come out properly. It comes out in clumps. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Over more. You push yourself over more. A little higher if you can. Stop there. Now, because Huzi didn't aim very well, we do have a little bit of a spillage underneath. All right, let's have a look at what shots we got and we'll see if we need to redo it. When you're working with water, just expect to have to redo it a few times because the first 2 shots probably aren't always going to be the best. We are switching to a taller ladder. However, please know this is not necessary. We are just like trying to get creative and we do have the taller ladder there, so we may as well give it a go. I'm just being extra, if I'm being honest. I just have a vision now for this shot and I want to execute it. So Huzi's going to be the brave person and he's going to get on the ladder with the watering can. He's going to be very careful and we're just going to get one more round of photos and then we're going to wrap it up. I'm just going to add some more suds to this scene because they've obviously washed off with that water. Just a few, just to add that little element to it again.
Ready?
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Go higher and over, higher and over. All right, so I'm stoked with the results of that photo. I definitely think Hoosie going a little bit higher so that water could spread more was definitely a good decision. But again, I know not everyone is going to have the space or the ladder that's that tall. Just work with what you can. Okay, so that brings us to the final stages of this photo. We're just going to use our wet vacuum cleaner to suck up all the water. It's just a really easy tool to use. I've obviously got these in the gear section as well, but it just sucks up all the water, then we can put it down a drain. So we're going to go clean up and then we'll start on the next scene.